Hey all again. This is a video review of sorts. As much as I am certainly not an expert, but I'm definitely going to show, I think, more from what matters from my perspective and probably affects a lot of people. And that is the difference between a really cheap multimeter and a cheap, but definitely not complete cheap multimeter. Now, these are, as you can see, from Mastercraft, which is a brand that is sold at Canadian Tire in Canada. And they contract these things out for manufacturing because as much as there are certain things that Mastercraft brand is unique from Canadian Tire, they just rebadge an awful lot of stuff and sell it under their house brand. So this one I've had for a while. It came in a nice little kit. It came with wire strippers and it came with a pair of pliers. And the leads, as you can see, moving along, are fairly long. I do believe that they are actually the same length as this other multimeter that you see. Maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, they're definitely a little bit longer on this newer one. So one of the things that made me think about doing up this video is work on my son's generator project with him. And one of the things that I noticed the most was that you cannot at all underestimate the need for sensitivity. And I'll show you what I mean. This is on voltage, and then we'll get on to talking about the meters a little bit more here in a second. So this is a nice big bolt, some neodymium magnets, very strong neodymium magnets to the point where you can see there's a crack all the way through. One of them broke. And this is a very, very low-end coil of wire, and I'm going to shove that through after I get this connected and show you the lack of sensitivity of one meter over another. So this is the meter on the right. Over here it is the cheap meter. I knew that was going to happen. Awesome videos happening live. Do it live. We'll do it live. Some people out there on the internet, some people know on the internet what that means. What the reference is to that. Matthew, can you get me a pair of the wire strippers, please? I broke off a copper. Thank you. So, these are the sadder ones. So the meter on the right in the kit, I probably picked it up during one of their 1995 or 1999 door crasher specials. The one on the left, I got lucky, and they had it on for 40 or 60%. It was a massive amount off. And I got it for around $29. Taxes in. So I was very, very happy with that, especially once I spent some time with that meter. So here we go. Now I'm going to dip this in. I'm not going to bother keeping it under the camera because it's too hard. So you can see the negative symbol is moving every now and then over there on that meter on the right, and then you get nothing. However, if I switch this over to the newer, better meter that has the much higher sensitivity settings, and that's really, it's not sensitivity so much as it's polling, which works out to sensitivity when you're using it. So it polls a lot more frequently, which means if you're looking for a reading and you know there's supposed to be a reading, then you'll probably get the reading. So now I can actually get a constant run of voltage on there, and that's on DC. And because this rather simple demonstration of whose law?
Faraday's.
Faraday's law of electromagnetics and magnetism. This is actually AC, this little unit I'm using, so you can get a much higher AC rise out of this. And then, of course, some will say, well, you didn't put it on AC over on this one. Well, you know what? The lowest voltage ranging on this one for AC voltage is 200, which means I only get tenths. And if you watch over here on AC, this is another benefit of the more expensive unit, I have all the way down to tenths, 100ths, 1,000ths, because this is an auto-ranging meter, which I'll tell you this, I will never buy another meter that isn't auto-ranging ever again, because it beats this foolishness of having to select specifically the max voltage or amperage or ohm reading that you're looking to get your hands on. This is just foolish. So there's a big demonstration, especially if you're just playing with low-end electronics, as to why it is definitely better to get even a somewhat more expensive meter. And it's terrible. I looked up the name before the video. I will put the name of the company in some kind of a logo somewhere. I don't know, around anywhere here on the screen. I'll put up text that says who it is that makes these, at least makes this one for Canadian Tire under the Mastercraft brand. No idea on this one. I was never really able to figure it out. Chances are probably it's the same company, but it's hard to say. So anyways, this one gets the job done. Nice short leads, as you can see. They're not the longest things in the world, so it might be good for certain types of jobs. Does voltage, AC and DC pretty decently. It does do ohms. I've tested it with a 1K ohm resistor. It does do a decent job. It represents it fairly accurately, especially for, you know, weekend work. One of the things that drives me nuts with this one and really got me to jump out and get the other meter was milliamps. The milliamps in this is broke. I don't even think it ever worked, and I just never knew because it's not something I use very often. But now that I've been tinkering, and that my son decided he wanted to do the project he wanted to do, we've been playing more. And while I've been babbling, I just showed that this is just a nice rubber buggy bumper. It just wraps around it. Can come off, so if you get it dirty or something, you can take that out and clean it. So, as with any of these, for amps, for 10 amps, of course, you roll this over to here, and for milliamps, you stay on this side. And for all the other metering needs, you'd stay on this side. So I'll give a good shot here. The model number of this less expensive one, which I do believe they still carry, 052-060-0060-2. There's a fuse located under here. This is a 9-volt battery that powers this, as you can see. One 9-volt MEDA 1604, and then of course, because I'm in English on that side, and then French down here because Canada. And of course, along with the manual of all this, the really big benefit of some of these better, or certainly less cheap, auto-ranging meters. Blech, words. So first off, 0 on this. The 0 position is the off position. And then you pick AC, DC. I'll bring this up. So you've got off, AC voltage, DC voltage, full auto-ranging. Back the other side, we've got capacitance, which does work. I've used it, and it's fairly accurate. Frequency. This was interesting. This frequency setting. Hello? Oh, that's peculiar. Okay. frequency. There we go. Oh, that kind of spooked me. So yeah, this actually shows hertz, and one of the interesting things with the generator project was that when we hooked this up to the outputs from the generator, we were able to get the cycles per second that were coming off of it, so we were able to do the back calculation and figure out the rotational speed necessary to generate different voltages. And we did use the cheaper multimeter to read the voltage as we were pulling the frequency, and I definitely would have wished I had two of these for that project and another set of these, because these are handy even with two people. So frequency, this is kind of an interesting thing. There was a stunt I tried to pull with this using inductance, and just to try to fine-tune my snowblower. It kind of caused the meter to go all wiggy, and maybe that's actually why things were slightly weird. I don't know. So capacitance off, AC voltage, DC voltage, ohm meter. Now this is where things get neat, and I like this functionality on this meter. And this was great because this is what Matthew took to school with his project so he could show everybody the output readings. I'm going to roll this over to amperage. Now we're getting a high tone, and we're getting a flash over here, which is indicating that we have to pull that banana plug and relocate it over to here. And now you've got your connectors in the right position. And milliamps, of course, as you can now see, it's blinking this light, and you reposition the banana plug down to the milliamp position. And now everything is good. And microamps is the same deal. And then when we roll over into the temperature probe stuff, it just gives a reading of whatever, because it doesn't really care, and neither do I, because although that is the right hole, it wasn't just not beeping because it wasn't right or wrong. I don't have a temperature probe for this, and you can get a thermistor type that is available for these all these meters that do have that function, and it'll give you your temperature reading. And you can see the light is on now that I've got one of these out, but it's not making the tone. If I put this in over here, it will make the tone saying, don't hook up, you're in the wrong place. So HFE is for in here. It will do transistor tests. I just don't envision myself having that need. Most reviews that I watched with regards to multimeters usually speak of this in kind of disparaging terms. They kind of make fun of it. They say it's not really necessary. I can't speak to it yet because I haven't really gotten into the point where I'm working with transistors at that level. So plug that back in, and of course on frequency it's good, on capacitance it's good, because this is the right place for that positive connector, and of course on AC voltage and DC voltage, only until of course I go into the wrong places, and then you can see it jumps between here and here, and if you listen, there's a low tone as it rolls. And then it stops and it goes back to a nice quiet, not making a big fuss. So this is an 052-0052-2. It has stickers under here. Of course, again, warning, this instrument contains no replacement parts, serviced by qualified persons only. Someday I might take it apart to see the quality difference inside this one compared to the other one. EEV Blogger has done some great teardowns on meters, and so hasn't MJ Morton, showing some of the huge quality differences of parts and assembly of different multimeters, especially the very cheap, the very, very low end. This is actually powered by a pair of 1.5 volt AAA, or AAA, as some people on YouTube I've seen like to state it out as. You can see there 2 by 1.5 volt AAA. There is a fuse, 800 milliamp, 250 volt fuse in this one. I guess I'll read the English or the French. It doesn't matter. And then there's a 20 amp, 250 volt fast min. So this is claimed to be capable of handling 20 amps, as you can see indicated here. But it's as you read the instructions, it indicates to only do that for a brief moment of time and to not continue to hold it. Some of the things I haven't really played around with a lot are these buttons. Relative kind of sets it so you can read a voltage or read an amperage and then press that, and it sets that point as the 0 point so that then you can measure again and see if there's variance above or below. True RMS, I haven't fussed with that. Also doubles as the data hold button. And I know as much as this is supposed to be a review, I'm supposed to know what's going on in this video. Let's see what the data hold does. So, take that off. Let's get some serious voltage going through this thing. Some lithium ion power. And we take it off. Good, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Just hold the voltage. See? Changing and touching and not touching, and it doesn't hold it, so let go. So yeah, so if we get this up to 3.9, and there's a negative 3.9, so there's our relative functionality coming into play, and this is your delta break in there. Sorry about that. So yeah, so here's your delta. So now it shows the negative, and if by some chance I can get the voltage above, there we go, it actually trickled up that tiny little bit. You can see there's a 0.001 voltage rise over the reading after I'd hit the relative button. And then reset relative back to there. And you can see as I roll through this, I guess, this controls your precision. And holding it will re-engage the auto power off. That one, don't know. I have to read the book again. That's something I tell people to do, is read the manual, and I don't do it enough myself. So, anyways, like I said, worth the extra money. Normally, this particular model lists for around $65 or $69. It's worth it, even at that price, as far as I'm concerned. If you're only going to buy 1 meter, put some proper money into it. I kind of giggled when I watched videos and people kept saying, put some proper money into it. And of course, they're talking about fluke meters. And fluke, if you're familiar with them at all, fluke meters of all kinds, whether it's for network analysis or multimeters like this, flukes are not cheap. They start easily at the $200 range. And that is just, I don't see it as necessary for home use unless you're making money off of it. Meaning that you're using it in a business, be it a small home business doing electronics repair, or we've used fluke meters at the office for network analysis and diagnostics. So obviously at that point, I mean, money's on the line. We've got to figure out what the problem is, or make sure that everything is good with the network. Much of that's pretty much gone by the wayside. But at any rate, we did do that at several times in the past, in the 20-odd years I've been in the IT world. Yeah, I'm not doing that at home. I'm just having fun, making YouTube videos, using this to check things around the house if I need to check things around the house. And before, I was, of course, using the less expensive meter. This is something that I've only purchased recently. I think I've only had it now for 2 months. So definitely worth it, though. I really enjoy this meter, as much as one can enjoy a meter. The inner nerd, I guess, if you were watching this video, you're probably a little nerdy or a little geeky too. So anyways, thanks for watching, and thanks again for watching, and I said that twice. Alright, it must be doubly good. 2 pieces of video spliced into one, I guess. that break back at the point when I was showing the relative was because I ran out of space on my internal memory card. So yeah, if I didn't sound like too much of a bumbling idiot doing a review on these meters, give a thumbs up or give a thumbs down. I mean, let me know if I'm being a buffoon about it. Otherwise, if you enjoy the videos, it'd be great if you subscribed, and I'll catch you later, and thanks again.